Hello, I'm probably riding my bike. I thought I'd take this opportunity at the end of the year to reflect on another year of riding my bike in Seoul. For anyone new to the channel, it could be a good chance to see the vibe of my channel. A lot of the footage is from videos that I've already shared, but I kind of want to talk about the mood of each month of riding bikes in Seoul. And for each video, I will share the link so you can check any of them out if you're interested. I've been riding my bike almost every day for the whole year. This year had some momentous occasions which prevented me from riding my bike quite as much as I usually do. But it's still the main way I get round, and nothing will stop me from doing this. So here goes, riding my bike through the year in Seoul. January. For some, maybe the bleakest, but for many, a month of new beginnings. Here it's one of the coldest. Usually about -10 in the mornings, Celsius, sometimes even colder. I embrace the cold days because it means there's no pollution in the air. If you wear enough clothes, you can still see the sunrise and enjoy riding your bike. But as I said, a month of new beginnings, and for me, a new pair of handlebars. I saw an Atlantis in Tokyo over last Christmas with the Nitto jam bars, and I had to switch them out on my own Atlantis. A nice fresh start to the year, making my bike feel like a new bike. Handlebars are a good way to start the year with a new start, but also there's New Year's resolutions, which something I never used to believe in because I always failed with them. But 2 years ago, I had a resolution to stop drinking for at least 3 months to see what it felt like. And 2 years later, I'm still not. So I think resolutions, they only really work if it's something you really want to do. And it doesn't only have to be in January either. There's the famous Mark Twain quote, "Giving up smoking is easy. I've done it hundreds of times, or even thousands of times," which highlights the struggle of giving something up. In January, the Han River bike paths are pretty empty. Almost lonely at times, but quite peaceful. But you'll still find a few crazy people like me out to ride their bikes for a bowl of nudes. And after that, you need to go out for a hot cup of coffee to warm you up. My favourite thing about riding through Seoul all year is the abundance of cafes. You could go to a new one every day and never run out. You go to a few every day and never run out. It's amazing. And here are a few more crazy people riding their bikes in the cold in January. This was the first Critical Mass Seoul, the first of the reintroduction, where I made lots of new friends. I wasn't able to make the year's anniversary ride this month, but I've been able to enjoy a few of their rides this year, and I'm happy to see they're going strong. I hope they continue to grow and make an impact. There's always a really good vibe at these rides. Everyone's super friendly. Some of the rides, the cars are more aggro than others, but it's mostly the buses that you need to watch out for. And the taxi drivers. January or the winter's a good time to get on a bike build too. Started off with my Rune Rufus Stone. I did most of the build myself, but there was a few bits that I couldn't do due to not having the tools, so it's a good excuse to head off to Rookie Bike. And if you're heading to Rookie Bike, you've got to stop off at HBC Coffee, which is one of my favourites in Seoul. Time is like a vortex here. You feel like you're just going to stop by for a quick coffee and end up staying for a few hours. Usually on the way you meet up with some more friends to ride bikes with. There's always someone to ride with when you're leaving HBC Coffee. And here we are at Rookie Bike to help get my headset installed. I guess a relatively easy job if you have the tools. But not something that I'm going to do often enough to buy the actual tool. If it's too cold to ride, you can do lots of tinkering in January. I like to tinker and ride. I've been riding without fenders for too long and getting a wet ass. So I've decided to put these Simworks Flat 65 fenders on my Clem and make this my winter rough weather rider. These were the fenders that I had on my Velo Orange Polyvalent, and luckily they fit quite well and look quite cool on the Clem too. And what a better way to test out your fender install than to ride in the snow and head out for a quick coffee. I feel like this bike is completely dialed now it has these fenders. I don't need to change a thing. I've made enough updates to make it the perfect bike for me. Although in 2026 it might need some dad bike upgrades. So January can be quite bleak, but it is what you make of it. February. I feel like February's short for a reason. It's better to get it over and done with. It just continues to be bleakly cold. But that does mean you get to wear some cool clothes. I think autumn and winter are the best seasons for cool clothes. I did a fit check what to wear riding in winter video, just because I think the clothes are super cool in the winter. I was meant to do one in the summer too, but in the summer you just dress like a kid and just wear shorts and t-shirt every day. Might not be as cool. You still get to ride in the glorious sunshine. You got some wool socks and some good gloves, you'd be okay. And the odd bit of snow is not too bad either. I couldn't imagine living somewhere like in Canada where you just get inches and inches of snow and you can't ride your bike anywhere. In Seoul it gets cold and it snows, but it never lasts that long. And it gets cleared off pretty quickly too. By this point in the winter, the deep freeze really does set in, and the Han River, despite being quite wide, almost completely freezes over. And for me, the only remedy, of course, is riding a bike, going to get some hot food and some hot coffee. And I continue to have crazy friends who like riding bikes in the cold. I'm going for some ramen noodles. I feel lucky and grateful to have friends who will come and meet me to ride bikes when it's this cold. It's quite a niche hobby, but I think once you try it, you get really into it. Have you been to the music one? No. At least the days begin to get longer by this time of the year. I started off talking badly about February at the beginning of this section, but looking back, actually, it was pretty good. Uzbek food, coffees, noodles, good friends, beautiful bikes. Couldn't be better. This February also brought a new bike day. The ruin that I started building in January is ready. All the parts came and it assembled pretty nicely and without too many hiccups, which is quite good for me. Usually I make some terrible mistakes and have to fix them again. It's a little bit different to my other builds with drop bars and disc brakes, but it's come to be one of my favourite bikes to ride this year. The hilt bars are some of my favourite, most comfortable drop bars I've ever ridden. And it just feels super smooth and fast. I think the Renaher's tyres help with that too. I'm really happy with the build and I haven't changed anything since, and I don't plan on changing anything, which is quite rare when I build a bike. Usually I'm tinkering for ages. March is a bit more optimistic. You can feel the optimism of spring coming, but it still takes a little while. It starts off super cold, but it started off with some warmth with our friends from Velo Orange coming for a ride. Super fun day. I loved how keen my friends were to give them a great time and host so well in Seoul. And Igor and Clint were super sweet guys. It was cool to see so many neutrinos in the wild. They look super cool together. From one mini velo to another. Cafe Lent in Mudedong was one of the nicest cafes I've been to this year. I particularly loved the hand-pulled espresso. Maybe one of the best espressos I've had this year. But super friendly service, cool vibes, and interesting neighbourhood as well. So March brought my favourite cafe of the year, and also my favourite bike. This is Nick's Ebisu. Just a perfect randonneur. Couldn't be better. Completely dialed, the colour's perfect, the build's perfect. It's a perfect bike. Just look at it, soak it in. Absolutely glorious. I've never heard of this. Is this old?
Yeah. But they went out of business sometime in the 80s. When I was always sort of intrigued by to get one. And it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Rough specs on kind of like what and
And they were like, March usually brings a full spring early on. A few days of warmth to give you a bit of joy, a bit of a tease, and then it suddenly gets brutally cold again. But by the end of the month you can feel it warming up. There's even little bits of blossom and flowers starting to bloom and buds of green. People start saying to me, you must be happy that cycling season's almost here. But cycling season's all year. It's just a bit more enjoyable when it's in colour, as opposed to black and white. April is when the spring feeling truly arrives in Seoul. There's leaves on the trees and April brings the cherry blossom. A perfect chance to make a casual shirt for riding your bike. April was when my friend Joe from Calico finished the production of the Probably Riding flat white Calico shirt. We managed to do 2 runs of those shirts this year. I'm super grateful for Joe for making it happen, and super grateful for any of you who bought one. I love mine and I wear them every day. It's not just good for riding bikes, it's a great dad shirt with the big giant pocket on the front. Perfect for babies' bottles. The warmer weather means sitting outside, enjoying an affogato or any kind of iced coffee. I certainly made the most of having some coffees outside during April. 좋다.
마커스 이 카드 계좌 있어?
And with the cherry blossoms and this lease of life from the spring lambs, got my own spring lambs on the way. I did as much as I could to prepare for our new arrivals in our house. Filling up the house with toys and beds and bottles and sterilizers and all this paraphernalia that you need. Trying to be minimal, but ended up buying everything. But nothing really prepares you for the huge change in your life that having babies brings. Especially when it's two at the same time. The most terrifying thing, but the most amazing thing at the same time. My life's a bit different now, but I wouldn't change it. May is one of the top 2 months in Korea. A close second. I'll share my favourite later on in the video. I spent most of May fumbling through life. As I said before, my life's completely different, but I did still manage to get out for a few small rides. They felt a bit different because all I could think about was going back to my babies. But you need to have a break and meet some friends and reset so you're fresh, ready to look after them. May's my favourite month because usually the weather is just perfect, like mid-20s, perfect bike riding weather. And there's lush greenery everywhere and flowers and roses. You get the occasional day of rainfall, but it's mostly just glorious sunshine. I spent most of the month living between the Jordi the postpartum care centre, home, and even going to work sometimes. All the trips by bike with a very quick stop off for a caffeine recharge. Somehow I did manage to get a handlebar swap in, but this was one of the easiest ones to do. And for me, this is mindfulness. Something to reset your mind. I'm not sure if a dirty chicken burger or chicken sandwich, if you prefer, is mindfulness, but it helps you feel good in the moment. I can't see myself bringing Hang Suji out to the countryside anytime soon. So the Suzy got a more commuter mode. New bars to stop and smell the roses. And at the end of the month, my favourite cafe, Travertine, opened up a new spot in Hannam. A different vibe to the original location, but just as good. June is when you can really feel summer starting to arrive. Everywhere's lush and green, but the humidity is starting to rise. Not unbearable yet. It's before the monsoon season, so it's still glorious sunshine every day. Everyone seems quite happy in this time of year. Seoul is like a completely different city. Korea's a completely different country between the summer and the winter. And the people seem different too. Just being out in this weather just makes you happier and more open and friendly. I got to go on a couple of longer rides and it felt so good to be out. The majority of my rides were just going to the shops or a quick coffee stop. I felt like summer was zooming past, but these rides helped me slow down. I'll have plenty more summers to enjoy in the future.
Yeah, of course. First time, but
Yeah, I'm sure as a yo-yo. July is usually my least favourite in Korea. My favourite in the UK, but the worst here, usually. It brings the monsoon season, or Changma. Some Julys it just rains every single day, almost all day. I remember some summers I would just look at the map of Korea, the weather map, and look where it wasn't raining, get the bus or train there and go and ride my bike. Strangely, this year, the year when I have less time to ride my bike, the monsoon lasted about a day and then seemed to disappear, and we just had hot but glorious sunshine. People complain about the humidity, but you've just got to get over it. You're going to sweat even if you just, as soon as you walk out of your house without even walking or riding a bike, you're going to sweat. Just embrace it. I do get some comments asking me what I do about sweat when I'm riding my bike. I don't really know how to answer that. I guess I just sweat. If you're riding to work, or it's probably more of a problem unless you have showers at work, but if you're just riding for a coffee or to meet a friend or two, it's no problem. Good friends don't mind if you might smell a little bit. Maybe going on a date is a different matter. Just bring some deodorant or something. Change your clothes. What I don't advise, though, in the middle of the hottest summer, is moving house with twin babies. By August, the rainy season's always finished, and you can just embrace the summer. It's really hot, but I feel like it's more refreshing riding a bike than walking around. In the summer here, the buildings and the buses and the subways have the aircon on extremely cold. You have to bring a cardigan or something to stay warm when you're inside. Sometimes it makes me feel kind of sick. I don't really like being in air conditioning all day. I feel like just being outside and riding my bike and making sure I'm hydrated helps me regulate my body temperature much better. August brought the 100-day celebration of my baby's lives. It seemed that life was getting a bit easier after 100 days. I was adjusting better to being a new parent, and the babies were just getting a bit easier. I felt like I was able to get a bit of my life back. Not that they're taking my life away, they're giving much more than what they're taking. I did say that the rainy season had finished, but we did get a couple of late summer showers too. Most of my bike rides in August were going to pick up stuff for our babies. Any chance to get out and help them at the same time. Lots of cargo bike quests, exploring the different apartment blocks and complexes around Seoul, and also stopping off at some local markets and catching up on my lack of cold noodles. September in Seoul feels like a deep breath. The air starts to cool just a little bit, and the mornings are a tiny bit fresher. I took a deep breath myself. I went back to work after my paternity leave and took a bit of a break from making videos. I was still riding every day. Just decided to take a break from making content. I did go for a cheeky night ride with my friend Junho for some noodles and some espresso coffee. Decaf, of course.
Yeah. I could smell the yuzu.
Nighttime city tour, but nothing. For some people felt he wasn't slowing down, but a lot of my riding in the summer was at night, and these late summer nights still feel warm but fresh. You can ride and you're probably riding flat white shirt and a pair of shorts and still feel super comfortable. I didn't really stop making videos because I was tired of making videos. I just thought no one was interested in my commutes. I wasn't really riding anywhere new, but I was still enjoying my rides just as much. You don't have to post them on the internet to enjoy them.
Oh, this is money shot.
We got to the legendary Fritz Coffee in Gongdok, one of my first great coffee places in Seoul. Got there just in time for last orders. They have some really lovely coffee and their branding's super cool too. I'm a sucker for good branding. Sat outside on this late summer night and enjoyed this glorious decaf espresso. It was decaf, but just the act of drinking a strong espresso made me feel awake. Tricked my brain. October's my all-time favourite month in Korea. It's the month that brings my favourite season, autumn. Although it feels like autumn comes later and later, and summer is longer and longer. Still warm enough for a glorious bowl of cold noodles, some Pyongyang naengmyeon, and a mung bean pancake. Making up for lost time for all the cold noodles that I didn't eat over the summer. I said that October is my favourite, but I was continuing to take a break from making videos. I still made a couple of some cargo bike quests, but autumn was still quite green and still felt quite warm this year. With the climate change, maybe November is becoming my favourite month in Korea. Autumn is beautiful in the UK too, but it's a bit more cold and damp. Here the colours seem to pop a bit more. Must be the lack of rain and the clear blue skies. But this time I'll have to show you that in November.
When's the hat being released?
Same. November. A new contender for my favourite month in Korea. You can see why. Look at those colours and that blue sky. Just warm enough to wear some lighter layers and cool enough to wear some cooler clothes. The beginning of November continues the beauty of autumn, and the beautiful weather it brings. There's always just one day it suddenly turns to winter, just suddenly gets cold, and you're always waiting for that day. This year it came much later. In Europe, November's more kind of a depressing month. You can feel the days getting extremely short, and the weather's atrocious, and the leaves are bare. Here the days are much longer than in Europe during the winter, and the autumn foliage clings on for as long as it can. I also got a new toy. I don't know if you've noticed with this footage. I got the Insta360X5, who sponsored a few of my videos. Check out my next video for more about that. There is a link in the description if you're interested in looking at the camera. You can use the code PROBABLYRIDING for any free accessories. Winter suddenly arrived right at the end of November this year. One day it's like 15 degrees outside, you're in a shirt and a jumper. The next day is -5 in the morning. You need your gloves and your cashmere and your padding. I also had a new camera from Insta360, the Go Ultra, a nice upgrade from the Go 3 that I've been using in all my previous videos. Again, you can check the link in the description for that camera.
Yeah, thank you. That's nice. That's really nice of them.
Different time to what I'm used to, so it's kind of cool to see.
Cable stop for you to put them on the bike. So I took it to Bike Rush.
Even though I know the winter is going to be extremely cold, and I know at some point I'm going to want it to end, I'm still really excited when you get those first freezing cold days. I can't really describe it. My wife thinks I'm mad. When she checks the weather in the first freezing morning, she's asking if I'm going to ride my bike to work, and I say, yeah, of course, can't wait. My colleagues always ask as well, did you ride in today? And I just say, yep, every day. Even on days like this December day. We got some early snow this year. And thanks to my tinkering back in January, I've got the fenders on the Clem. The Clem seems to be the perfect bike for this amount of snow. With its chunkier tyres and long wheelbase make it super stable. It makes the commute feel like an adventure. Not many people can say that their commute feels like an adventure. I feel lucky. I always enjoy December, heading towards the end of the year. It's a good time to reflect on how the year's gone for you. This year's been pretty horrendous around the world for a lot of people, and it can seem quite bleak at times. But for me, selfishly and personally, it's been a momentous year. And being a dad, I have to have the optimism that things can get better. I know I'm in a position of privilege, but what's the point of being a dad if you're not going to hope for the best for them? I can't wait to continue riding my bike into next year and the many years ahead. It's my favourite thing to do, as you probably noticed. And making these videos is also one of my favourite things. It's become a very important part of my life to create these. I can't believe that all of you watch them, and I'm so grateful that you do. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. See you later.